The night was quiet in the small American town. A place with only one gas station, 2 bars, and a sheriff who spent more time fishing than working. People here were tough, simple, and stubborn. They were not rich, not educated like city people, but they knew how to fight for their land, their family, and their pride. But on this night, something strange came from the sky. At first, it looked like a star falling, glowing red and silver. Old Farmer Bill, who was drinking beer on his porch, thought it was a meteor. He leaned back and muttered, "Well, damn, another one." But this was no meteor. The light slowed down before hitting the ground. It hovered in the air, a silent metal shadow with sharp edges, nothing like an airplane. Bill dropped his beer. What in the hell? Across town, others saw it too. Teenagers in a pickup truck stopped their music and stared at the sky. The sheriff, half asleep in his cruiser, almost spilled his coffee. The town dog barked like crazy. The ship landed in the old cornfield, crushing the dry stalks. No fire, no smoke. Just a hiss, like air escaping. And then the sound of heavy steps on the dirt. Something had come out. Bill grabbed his shotgun. He wasn't brave, but he was stubborn. He walked to the edge of the field, his boots crunching the dry soil. That's when he saw them. Figures tall, armored, moving like machines. Their bodies glowed faint green under the moonlight. They weren't human. Aliens, Bill whispered. His heart froze. One of the creatures raised a device, scanning the area. A cold, robotic voice spoke in a language no human could understand. But the meaning was clear. They were hunting, searching. Soon, more ships appeared above the town. Silent, cold, watching. The people of the town gathered at the bar, the only place with enough room for everyone. Fear filled the room. Mothers held their children close. The sheriff stood near the jukebox, trying to look calm but sweating. "What do they want?" someone asked. Bill slammed his shotgun on the table. "They came to erase us." The room went silent. Everyone looked at him. He explained what he saw, the machines, the scanning, the cold way they moved. These weren't explorers. They weren't here to talk. They were here to wipe the town off the map, like sweeping dirt off a porch. "They think we're nothing," Bill said. "Just some backwater humans. Easy to erase." The sheriff rubbed his forehead. "We call the army. Let them handle it." But the phones were dead. The internet was gone. Even the radios gave only static. The town was cut off. Alone. The aliens had planned everything. For a moment, despair filled the bar. What could a few rednecks, farmers, mechanics, and waitresses do against beings from another world? But then something happened. The bartender, an old veteran, pulled out his rifle from behind the counter. "If they think we're nothing," he said slowly, "then let's show them what nothing can do." The people looked at each other. They weren't soldiers. But they had trucks, shotguns, hunting rifles, dynamite from the quarry, and more courage than sense. The sheriff nodded. "All right. If they came for a fight, we'll give them one." Outside, the aliens moved closer. Their leader raised a glowing weapon, pointing it at the town. They believed this would be easy. Just another weak human settlement erased from the earth. But they didn't know these people. They didn't know the stubborn spirit of humanity. And they didn't know that tonight, in this forgotten town, the hunters would become the hunted. The first shot echoed in the night. Bill had fired from his porch, the blast of his shotgun breaking the silence. The alien armor sparked, and for the first time, the creatures hesitated. The humans had chosen to fight. And they were just getting started. The gunshot echoed across the dark fields. For the first time, the aliens stopped. Their glowing armor sparked where the shotgun pellet had hit. It didn't break through, but it showed something the aliens had not expected: resistance. Bill pumped his shotgun again, his hands shaking but his eyes sharp. "Come on, you bastards," he muttered. The nearest alien raised its weapon. A beam of white light shot past Bill, burning the ground near his feet. The heat was so strong it turned the soil black. Bill dove behind an old tractor, heart pounding. The sheriff had seen enough. He ran out of the bar shouting, "Everyone, grab what you got. We fight now." The town came alive. Trucks roared to life, engines growling like angry beasts. Men and women ran into their homes, pulling out rifles, pistols, bows, even crossbows. A group of teenagers filled jars with gasoline, making Molotov cocktails. An old mechanic rolled out barrels of oil and chains, muttering, "We'll make traps. Nothing walks out of my field alive." The aliens advanced in perfect lines, their green eyes glowing. They were calm, confident, almost bored. To them, this was routine. They had erased many human towns before. But they had never fought people like this. At the edge of the cornfield, the first real battle began. Bill fired again, hitting an alien in the chest. It stumbled back. Another redneck in a pickup truck drove straight into two aliens, the truck smashing their legs. The driver jumped out and lit a Molotov, throwing it on the alien leader. Flames covered the creature's armor. It didn't die, but it screamed in a mechanical, broken sound. The people cheered. They had hurt them. The sheriff took cover behind his cruiser, firing shot after shot. "Aim for the weak spots," he shouted. "The joints. The eyes." Slowly, the townsfolk realized something. The aliens were strong, but not invincible. Their weapons were terrifying, their armor tough, but human stubbornness and dirty tricks were working. A group of hunters dragged out old bear traps and set them in the tall grass. When one alien stepped on it, the metal jaws snapped shut, cutting deep into its leg. The creature fell, thrashing. A farmer finished it with a shotgun blast to the head. Inside the bar, women made quick bandages from torn tablecloths. Children filled bottles with gasoline. The whole town had become a battlefield. But the aliens were not done. Above, the ships moved lower, their glowing lights scanning the town. One ship opened fire, destroying a barn in a flash of burning light. The explosion shook the ground, sending people flying. Horses screamed and broke free from their stalls. Smoke filled the night. The townsfolk panicked, but the bartender roared, "Hold the line. We don't back down." He fired his old rifle again, each shot steady and deadly. The fight grew brutal. Humans used everything they had, dynamite from the quarry, chains wrapped around alien legs, even kitchen knives thrown from windows. Every street became a trap. Every rooftop became a sniper's nest. And for the first time, the aliens hesitated. They had expected easy prey. Instead, they found wolves. Near the water tower, the sheriff faced two aliens at once. He was running out of bullets. Just as one alien aimed at him, a truck came crashing through the fence, headlights blinding. Behind the wheel was the mechanic, laughing like a madman. The truck slammed into the alien, crushing it under rusty metal. The sheriff nodded in thanks, breathing hard. "Rednecks," he muttered. "Never thought I'd be proud of that word." But victory was not certain. The aliens still had more numbers, more weapons, and their ships above were preparing something bigger. A deep humming filled the sky, a sound that made the ground vibrate. Bill looked up from his hiding place. His face was pale. "They're Callan, in the big guns." The people froze. Even in the middle of the fight, they felt it. Something worse was coming. The bartender spat on the ground. "Then we hit them harder before it arrives." The sheriff agreed. "We don't stop. If they want this town, they'll pay for every inch." And so the humans fought on. Blood, sweat, fire, and gunpowder filled the air. The night sky glowed with alien light and burning flames. The aliens had come to erase a town. But what they had awakened was far more dangerous, a people who refused to kneel. As dawn began to rise, both sides were bloodied. Smoke covered the horizon. The town was broken, but still standing. And high above, another ship was arriving. Bigger, darker, heavier. The real fight was only beginning. The morning sun barely touched the horizon when the ground began to shake. The new alien ship was massive. Bigger than any house, bigger than the water tower. Its shadow covered half the town as it slowly descended, metal panels shifting like scales. A deep humming sound filled the air, rattling windows and making dogs howl. People stopped fighting for a moment. They looked up, their faces pale, their hands shaking. The smaller alien squads pulled back, regrouping near the huge ship. It was their command vessel, their war machine. Bill spat on the dirt. Well, hell. That thing looks like it eats towns for breakfast. The sheriff's jaw tightened. That's not just a ship. That's a damn fortress. The vessel landed outside the cornfield, flattening everything beneath it. A ramp extended, wide enough to drive a truck through. From the dark interior, more armored aliens marched out, taller, stronger, carrying heavier weapons. Their armor gleamed like polished steel, and their eyes glowed brighter than the others. The townsfolk whispered in fear. "We can't stop that, we're done." But the bartender slammed his rifle butt on the floor. "Listen to me. They think we're scared. They think we'll run. But this is our home. And I'll be damned if I let some metal freaks erase us." The people found strength in his words. They were tired, bruised and bleeding, but they were still standing. The sheriff raised his voice. "We fight smarter. Traps. Ambushes. Hit and run. They're bigger, but we're meaner." So the townsfolk spread out, hiding in ruined buildings, behind cars, on rooftops. The battlefield became a maze of danger. The aliens advanced, their heavy boots sinking into the dirt. They moved with cold discipline, scanning every shadow. One alien aimed its weapon at a gas station sign. With a single blast, the sign exploded, raining fire. The aliens thought they had scared the humans out. But the humans were waiting. From a rooftop, a teenage girl hurled a Molotov cocktail. It burst on an alien's head, fire spreading down its armor. The creature stumbled, roaring in mechanical pain. Immediately, hunters fired from the tree line, bullets cracking against weak joints. The aliens fought back with brutal force. Energy beams ripped through houses, turning walls into ash. A pickup truck exploded in flames, sending 2 men flying. Screams filled the streets. Still, the humans kept fighting. The mechanic had set traps across the main road, steel cables stretched between lampposts, oil slicks on the ground. When a group of aliens marched forward, one tripped on the cable. Another slipped on the oil and fell hard. From the shadows, Bill stepped out, blasting his shotgun at close range. Sparks flew. The alien twitched, then went still. The sheriff radioed on an old walkie-talkie, the only thing still working. "Pull back to the water tower. We'll make our stand there." The people regrouped, dragging wounded friends, carrying weapons. The water tower stood tall, overlooking the town. From there, they could see everything: the smoke, the fire, the enemy spreading out like an iron tide. As the aliens closed in, the townsfolk prepared their last line of defense. They stacked sandbags, loaded every weapon, and set dynamite at the base of the tower. "This is it," the bartender said. "We give him hell or we go down swinging." The sheriff checked his revolver. Only 2 bullets left. He smiled grimly. "That's enough." The aliens came. Wave after wave, marching forward with glowing weapons. Their leader, a towering figure with black armor, raised a staff that pulsed with green light. The humans fired back, the battle turning into chaos. Bullets cracked, shotguns boomed, Molotovs burned bright against the dawn. But the aliens pushed closer. For every alien that fell, 2 more appeared. The townsfolk were running out of ammo, out of strength. Then, a massive energy blast hit the water tower, shaking it to its foundation. Metal groaned, bolts snapped. The tower swayed dangerously. Bill shouted, "They're gonna bring it down." The sheriff grabbed the dynamite wires. "Not if we do it first." Everyone froze. They realized what he meant. If the dynamite went off, the water tower would fall, not on the town, but on the aliens below. It would crush them in a flood of steel and water. But it would also destroy the last stronghold of the townsfolk. The sheriff looked at them all. Better we choose how this ends, than let them erase us. The bartender nodded. Do it. The sheriff lit the fuse. The dynamite exploded. With a thunderous roar, the water tower collapsed, metal and water crashing down on the aliens. Dozens of them were crushed under the weight, their glowing weapons sparking as they drowned in the flood. The people cheered, but only for a moment. Because through the smoke and broken steel, the black-armored alien leader still stood. Its green eyes glowed brighter than ever. And it was coming straight for them. The black-armored alien leader stepped through the smoke like a nightmare made real. Its height was over 8 feet, shoulders wide, armor shining with strange symbols. Unlike the other aliens, it carried no rifle. In its hands was a long staff that pulsed with green energy. With every step, the ground seemed to tremble. The townsfolk froze. Guns wavered in their hands. They had crushed a wave of soldiers, blown up half the town, and dropped a water tower, but this thing didn't even flinch. Bill muttered under his breath. That ain't no soldier. That's a damn monster. The sheriff narrowed his eyes. No. That's their commander. The alien leader raised its staff. A shockwave blasted outward, knocking men and women off their feet. The air rippled, and every window in the street shattered. People screamed as they were thrown into the dirt. The bartender tried to lift his rifle, but the alien moved faster. A bolt of green light shot from the staff, hitting the ground near him. The explosion threw him back into a wall, his rifle snapping in half. Fall back, the sheriff shouted. But there was nowhere left to run. The streets were rubble. The water tower was gone. The commander had cornered them. Bill ducked behind a burned-out car and fired his shotgun. The pellets sparked off the alien's armor, useless. The commander didn't even look at him. It kept walking forward, slow, steady, unstoppable. The mechanic, covered in dirt and oil, yelled, "We'll never break through that armor." The sheriff thought fast. Then we don't break it. We outsmart it. The townsfolk regrouped. They fired from rooftops, from windows, from behind wrecked cars. Bullets bounced, fire cracked, dynamite blasts lit the streets, but the alien leader walked through everything like a machine of death. Each swing of its staff sent people flying. Each strike left craters in the ground. And then, the alien finally spoke. Its voice was deep, metallic, echoing like thunder. Resistance is meaningless. You are primitives. You will be erased. The people froze. It spoke English, broken, cold, but clear. The sheriff wiped blood from his mouth. You don't know us, he growled. The alien tilted its head. You are weak. You cannot win. But the bartender, coughing blood, pushed himself up. Weak. He spat. We're still standin', aren't we? The alien slammed its staff into the ground. A green wave shot forward, sending the bartender crashing into the dirt. He didn't move again. The sheriff's rage boiled. You son of a bitch. He fired his last 2 bullets straight at the alien's glowing eyes. The shot sparked, one bouncing, but the second made the alien stumble back. The townsfolk cheered. The commander wasn't invincible after all. Hit the eyes. Bill shouted. That's the weak spot. Everyone focused fire on the alien's glowing eyes. Bullets cracked, arrows flew, Molotovs burst. The alien roared, swinging its staff wildly. A beam tore through a house, setting it on fire. Another wave of energy slammed into the sheriff, knocking him flat on his back. Bill scrambled forward, dragging the sheriff out of the rubble. Don't you die on me, sheriff. We ain't done yet. The alien leader raised its staff again, ready to finish them all. But then the mechanic roared, driving a tractor straight at the alien. The old machine groaned, engine screaming, but it charged forward. The tractor slammed into the alien, pushing it back into a half-collapsed building. The walls fell on top of it in a storm of bricks and steel. Dust filled the street. The mechanic jumped off the tractor, panting. That oughta hold it. Everyone stared at the pile of rubble. Silence fell. The alien commander didn't move. For the first time, hope flickered. Maybe, just maybe, they had done it. But then the rubble shifted. A green glow cut through the dust. The alien leader climbed out, its armor cracked, one eye dark, the other burning brighter than before. Its roar shook the street, furious and terrifying. Bill whispered, "Oh God!" The sheriff pushed himself up, bleeding but still alive. His voice was hard as steel. "We keep fighting. No matter what. If this bastard wants our town, he's gotta kill every last one of us first." The townsfolk gripped their weapons tighter. Tired, broken, but unbroken in spirit. They had lost friends, lost homes, but not their will. And as the alien commander raised its staff for the final strike, humanity stood ready. The real showdown had begun. The alien commander stepped forward, dragging its cracked armor through the rubble. Sparks flickered where the plating had split. One of its glowing eyes was gone, but the other blazed like a furnace. Every step it took made the townsfolk back away. The air shook with the power of its staff. One swing could crush a truck. One blast could erase a building. Bill clutched his shotgun, his hands trembling. "We can't stop it," he whispered. The sheriff's voice cut through the fear. "Yes, we can. We just haven't found the right way." The mechanic wiped sweat from his brow. "Its armor's busted. That means it bleeds like the rest of him. We just gotta hit it harder." The commander roared and swung its staff. A green wave tore through the street, flipping cars and hurling people into the air. The sheriff was thrown against a wall, gasping for breath. The bartender, who had somehow stood back up, was struck full force. This time, he didn't rise. "Damn it!" Bill shouted, tears burning his eyes. He fired at the alien's face again, but the pellets sparked uselessly. The alien grabbed him with one massive clawed hand and tossed him across the street like a rag doll. The humans were breaking. The commander raised its staff high, green energy building, brighter and brighter. The ground shook. The people covered their faces, knowing the next blast would finish everything. But then, boom! The dynamite. The mechanic had crawled to a crate of explosives near the gas station. With one bloody hand, he lit the fuse and grinned through broken teeth. "Choke on this, you bastard." The blast ripped through the street. Fire and shrapnel engulfed the alien leader. For a moment, the night glowed red and green, the air filled with smoke and burning oil. The townsfolk stumbled to their feet, coughing, staring. The alien commander lay on the ground, its armor shattered, sparks flying from its chest. It twitched, broken, beaten. We did it," someone whispered. But then, slowly, the alien leader rose again. Half its armor was gone now. Its movements were jerky, mechanical. Green blood dripped from cracks in its chest. But it still stood. Its one glowing eye locked on the sheriff. It wasn't just a soldier. It was hate given shape. The sheriff, bleeding from a dozen wounds, pulled himself to his feet. His revolver was empty. His hands shook. But his eyes burned with the same fire as his people. "Come on then," he growled. "Let's finish this." The alien roared, charging forward. The sheriff grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground. The commander swung its staff, but the sheriff rolled, slamming the pipe into the creature's exposed side. Sparks burst. The alien howled. Bill staggered up, shotgun in one hand, a hunting knife in the other. He ran forward, slashing at the alien's leg joints. Another hunter threw a chain around the creature's arm, pulling it down. The mechanic, crawling, jammed a crowbar into the alien's cracked chest. The people swarmed it, every last one of them, fighting like wolves around a bear. They stabbed, smashed, and fired point blank. Each strike drew sparks, green blood, and pained roars. The alien thrashed wildly, throwing people off. Its staff swung down, striking the ground so hard the earth split. 2 men were crushed instantly. A woman screamed as she was hurled across the street. But the humans didn't stop. Then, the sheriff saw it. Inside the alien's chest, past the broken armor, a glowing core pulsing like a heart. "That's it," he roared. "Hit the core." Bill aimed his shotgun at the glowing light and fired. The blast cracked it but didn't break it. The alien staggered, clutching its chest, but it wasn't done yet. The sheriff knew what had to be done. He picked up a stick of dynamite from the mechanic's belt. The fuse was already lit. "Sheriff, no!" Bill shouted. But the sheriff only smiled, his teeth red with blood. "Someone's gotta finish this." With the last of his strength, the sheriff ran forward. The alien raised its staff to strike him down, but he shoved the dynamite straight into the glowing core. For one brief moment, the alien's eye widened in shock. Then the world exploded. The blast ripped through the alien's chest, tearing it apart in a storm of fire and green light. The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. The staff shattered, glowing fragments raining down like falling stars. When the smoke cleared, the alien commander was gone. Nothing remained but broken metal, burning wires, and silence. The sheriff lay on the ground, unmoving. The people gathered around him. Bill knelt beside his old friend, tears streaming. The sheriff's eyes flickered open for a moment. "Did we win?" he whispered. Bill nodded, choking back sobs. "Yeah, we did." The sheriff gave a weak smile. "Good. Then it was worth it." His eyes closed, and he was still. The people were quiet, broken, mourning. But above all, they were alive. They had faced the impossible. They had fought the monsters. And in the end, it was not alien technology or advanced weapons that saved them. It was human stubbornness. It was sacrifice. It was the spirit that refused to die. And as the sun rose over the ruined town, the survivors knew one thing for certain: humanity was not easy prey. The sun rose over the broken town, turning the smoke orange and gold. Buildings were ruined, cars burned, and the streets were filled with rubble. The water tower was gone, the gas station a pile of twisted metal, and half the homes lay in ashes. But the people were alive. They stood in the wreckage, battered and bloody, looking at the spot where the alien commander had fallen. Nothing remained of it but blackened shards of armor and the faint smell of burned metal. Bill wiped his face with a dirty sleeve. His shotgun hung heavy in his hands. He looked at the sheriff's body lying still in the dirt. His friend. His leader. His sacrifice. The people gathered around in silence. Some prayed. Some cried. Others just stood there, numb. "We won," Bill said quietly. "But we lost too much." The mechanic, his arm in a makeshift sling, nodded. "They thought they could erase us. They were wrong. But we paid a damn price." Children clung to their mothers. Old men sat on the ground, staring at the smoke. The town that had been full of laughter, music, and stubborn pride was now a battlefield graveyard. Then someone pointed at the sky. The smaller alien ships still hovered above. Their lights blinked. Their engines hummed. For a moment, fear gripped everyone again. "What if they come back?" a woman whispered. "What if more of them land?" Bill lifted his shotgun, even though he had only one shell left. His voice was hoarse. "Then we fight again." But something strange happened. The ships didn't fire. They didn't move closer. Instead, they slowly rose higher, their engines glowing brighter. One by one, they pulled away, lifting into the clouds. Within minutes, they were gone. The people stared in disbelief. "They're leaving," the mechanic muttered. Bill narrowed his eyes. "Not leaving. Retreating. Without their commander, they don't know what to do." Relief swept through the crowd. People hugged each other, tears of joy mixing with sorrow. They had survived the night. They had done what no one thought possible. For the first time, hope returned. But hope was not enough. The town was in ruins. Supplies were low. Many were wounded. And nobody knew if the aliens would return with more ships, more commanders, more fury. Bill stood tall as his weary body allowed. Listen up. The sheriff gave his life so we could live. We ain't gonna waste it. We rebuild. We bury our dead, patch our wounds, and we get ready. Because they'll be back. And when they come, they'll find out again what happens when you try to erase rednecks from this earth. The people cheered weakly, but their voices grew stronger with each word. The mechanic added, "We know their weakness now. We know their eyes, their joints, their cores. Next time, we'll be ready." That night, fires burned across the town, not from destruction, but from bonfires where people gathered to honor the dead. Songs were sung, food was shared, and stories were told of how farmers, hunters, bartenders, and even children had stood against machines from the stars. For a moment, there was peace. But far above the earth, beyond the reach of human eyes, another alien ship watched. This one was larger than the command vessel, silent and cloaked in shadow. Inside, alien voices spoke in harsh tones, their language cold and sharp. Images of the ruined town flickered on screens. Data scrolled across glowing panels. The death of the commander had not gone unnoticed. One voice growled, translated roughly into English by a cold machine. "Primitive humans. Dangerous. They resist beyond prediction." Another voice replied, calm and calculating. "Then we send more. Stronger. We will not erase only their towns. We will erase their entire species." The larger ship turned slowly in the darkness of space, its engines igniting with pale fire. It was not retreating. It was preparing. Back on Earth, the townsfolk slept in the ruins, too tired to fear what tomorrow might bring. But the war had only begun. Weeks passed since the battle. The small town was scarred but alive. Houses stood half-burned, the water tower lay in ruins, and the streets were full of holes from alien blasts. But the people refused to leave. They patched walls with scrap, cooked meals over open fires, and rebuilt with whatever they could find. The sheriff's grave sat on the hill, marked by a simple wooden cross. Every day, someone placed fresh flowers there. His sacrifice was not forgotten. Bill had become the new leader, though he never asked for it. The people just looked to him now. He still carried his shotgun, still limped from his wounds, but his eyes were harder. He knew the truth. The aliens would come again. And then, one morning, the sky proved him right. A thunderous boom shook the air. Clouds split open as massive alien ships appeared, far larger than before. Black shapes blotted out the sun, stretching across the horizon. The fleet had arrived. Panic swept through the town. Mothers grabbed their children. Men loaded their rifles with shaking hands. The mechanic cursed under his breath, staring at the sky. Bill stood in the center of the street. His voice was calm, but it cut through the fear. "They're back. And they ain't just after our town. They're after all of us. This ain't about one little patch of dirt anymore. This is about Earth." The people looked at him, waiting. Bill pumped his shotgun once. "Then we fight for Earth. Right here, right now." The townsfolk cheered, louder than their fear. But then headlights appeared on the road. Trucks, armored jeeps, even helicopters in the distance. Soldiers rolled in, real military, armed to the teeth. They had finally found the town. The lead officer stepped out, eyes wide at the sight of the ruins and the wreckage of alien machines. "Good Lord. You people actually fought them off." Bill smirked. "We ain't the army. But we did what we had to." The officer saluted him. "Then you're exactly the kind of people we need." Word had spread. Other towns, other cities, other survivors had heard about the battle. Humanity wasn't lying down anymore. Across the country, across the world, people were picking up weapons, whatever they had, and fighting back. The little redneck town had become the spark of a worldwide resistance. The alien fleet began its descent, darkening the sky. The ground shook as more war machines dropped toward Earth. The officer barked orders, soldiers moved into position, and townsfolk joined them, side by side. Farmers with shotguns stood next to trained snipers. Mechanics with crowbars stood next to engineers with rocket launchers. Bill looked at the sheriff's grave one last time. "Don't worry, old friend. We'll finish what you started." The first alien ships landed in the fields. Ramp doors opened. Armored figures marched out in perfect formation. But this time, humanity was ready. The battle began with a roar. Rockets screamed through the air, slamming into alien ranks. Trucks charged forward with mounted guns. Farmers lit Molotovs and hurled them into the chaos. The mechanic had built makeshift bombs out of propane tanks and nails, and they exploded with brutal force. Aliens fired back, beams of green energy scorching the earth. Buildings collapsed, cars melted, men and women fell screaming. But the humans didn't break. They pressed harder, fighting with grit, with fire, with fury. Bill fought at the front, shotgun booming, knife flashing. Each time an alien went down, he shouted, "For the sheriff!" And the people roared back with strength. Overhead, helicopters strafed the alien lines, while jets fired missiles at the massive ships. The sky was fire, the ground was smoke, and the air was filled with the thunder of war. The aliens were stronger, faster, better armed. But the humans were something no machine could understand. They were stubborn. They were angry. And they refused to give up. Hours of fighting turned the fields into craters. Alien machines burned, their glowing eyes dimming. The people of Earth, united, pushed them back step by step. Finally, as the sun set red over the battlefield, the alien fleet began to retreat. Their command structure broken, their war machines shattered, they pulled away from Earth, vanishing into the dark of space. A cheer rose across the land, loud, fierce, unstoppable. Humanity had stood together, and humanity had won. Bill dropped to his knees, exhausted, tears running down his dirty face. The mechanic patted his shoulder. "We did it, Bill. We showed them." Bill nodded. "Yeah. They thought we were weak. They thought we'd roll over. But now they know." He looked at the sky, where the last alien ship was disappearing into the stars. "They know that if they come back," Bill pumped his shotgun one last time, "humanity will be waiting."